feet. Because when I first, at Moffitt, I had complete paralysis from the waist down. And it's because they said that I suffered from the lack of muscle movement and what have you. They had caused severe atrophy. And they had said that I probably would never walk again. If I did, I would walk with a limp, and I'd have to use a crutch or I'd have to use a walker. Well, I don't know, I was watching something on TV, and it just somehow inspired me, and I started moving my feet and started doing curls with my toes, even though I couldn't feel them. I mean, I literally could not feel my feet. And I started just doing it. And I pushed myself beyond the barriers. Within a year of being released from Moffitt, I ran a 5K race.
Yeah.
So, I just proved what the doctors say.
And I've seen a lot of pictures of you down at the ocean too, enjoying the surf.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't have mentioned your feet, because I just remember a wacky news story the other night, where a guy went to sleep with his dog and woke up and is missing his toes. And the dog decided, I'm going to ask you a question, common sense. How could you be sleeping and the dog eat your toes and not realize something's going on?
That, I would know that immediately. I don't know. That would be something. I think that one there, somebody must have been severely intoxicated or on meds. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. We know where the piggies went to market at that day. They went to the dog.
Yeah, exactly.
He's lucky. He could have lost his penis. That would have been worse yet.
Oh my! Yeah, he could have.
You're horrible, Gary.
I know it.
Especially that was a wiener dog.
Kind of like James was talking about. This is the Halloween time period. Vampires. And I remember when I wrote Against the Curse, I had a lot of people who belonged to the vampire societies, which I didn't even know existed. They had read my book and what have you, and they approached me and wanted me to, be a speaker for them and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, guys, it's a fictional character. I wrote it based on something else. It wasn't, I just chose a vampire because that's the most immortal, being that I could think of. But, like we were just discussing earlier, is that if a person had the immortal part of them, being able to be immortal, such as a vampire, they would outlive every single person they knew in each lifetime. Not just one lifetime, but in several lifetimes. Right. And like you said, James, they'd have to relocate to a whole different area. And that's what, in the book, Mercutio does. He changes his name. He keeps a variation of his name just because that's more similar for him. But he changes his identity, changes his name and everything to go to a whole different places in each one of the chapters, because he has to. He can't stay in the same spot.
Vampires do exist. And the reason why I say this, back a year and a half ago, I had a guest on my show that time hasn't ate solid food for years. His friends come over and they let him feed on them. And he can't go outside because he's really anemic. He could not go outside because the sunlight would really, blind him. Technically, his skin was real pale. And I really didn't believe all the stuff the guy was telling me. But I talked to his doctor before I even had him on the show, and the doctor said yes. This guy is legit. I mean, he's extremely anemic. From not eating, he lives on nothing but blood, and I can't believe people can get so involved into vampires and wanting to be vampires. But you know what? There's a big, huge cult of these people out there.
Oh, there is.
There are, and I found out that there were different types of vampires. There are vampires who supposedly feed on blood, the human blood. Or animal blood, and then there's the vampires who are psychic vampires.
Yeah, they zap you, energy.
The energy from you. And it makes you really start to question that one. It really does, because how many times have you guys, either one of you, been in a certain spot where you felt really energized and everything, and suddenly this one person comes over near you, and your energy is completely drained.
You know how you can test that theory out?
That
go to Walmart, RW, and just go to Walmart. You will test. You will prove that right.
You don't want to go to Walmart. Remember, I told you last night that some guy threw semen on a Walmart shopper.
Oh no!
It's a lot of weird things that Walmart. I tell you what, if you ever watch that thing on YouTube about Walmart shoppers, you never want to go into Walmart. I tell you, it's strange. I've seen strange things at Walmart. I really have.
Listen, you don't need to go to Area 51.
They have.
Go straight to Walmart.
Hey, James, you're over talking.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. My bad. I think I overtalked James. I apologize. I was just going to say that you don't need to go to Area 51. You can just go straight to Walmart.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you can see UFOs, aliens, and vampires and whatever, especially with Halloween coming up. They're all going to come out of the woodwork.
Especially late at night. I had to go because, there's a Walmart that's near me that's open 24 hours. And I don't know if all the Walmarts are, but this one is. And I went in there. It was late at night because I had been up riding. And I realized I was out of cat food for these two stray cats that I feed. And I had to go to Walmart to get it because the grocery stores are closed. And I go in there, and I swear, I really did think that I had entered the circus. There were people in there with dog chains around their necks. I mean, it was weird. I was looking at them, and people walking around, like you said, almost like they were in costumes. And I was thinking, are they really that much of attention getters that they have to do this, or is this really what they believe? I mean, because I've had people, who, when I've written, I wrote Cut, it's a psychological thriller, I had people thinking that I was a psycho killer because of the book. And I'm like, no, folks, that's just an imagination. It's just a creative character, a character that I created. Same thing with The Gift of Curse. People were like, the Vampire Society contacted me thinking that I was of the vampire lineage. I'm like, no, it's just a fictional character I created. It's nothing real. It's just, that's all it is.
Hey, well, R.W., where can they find your books at?
Amazon, pretty much any website that you can find books. There is everywhere, and I just got notification that it's now available all the way over into Asia, as far as global. So I'm happy with that. I don't really promote much about it, but I also have a children's book series called Smoky Mountain Bedtime Series, Tales series that I created. It's much like a Goosebumps type feel to it. It's for the younger children. And, that actually gives me more joy when I hear that children over in the Philippines or Taiwan are reading my books, on that. That makes me feel good. So I'm happy that people enjoy reading what I write, for the most part. I've had some criticisms in the past, and you take those criticisms and you build on them. And you say, you know what, I'll do better the next time.
Well, you're always going to have criticisms. Be in talk radio. I tell you what, compared to being an author, being a host on a radio show, I tell you what, it is a very cutthroat industry. It really is. And you learn very fastly. You don't make friends with other talk show hosts. Otherwise, somebody's going to find a knife and figure out where to put it.
Well, what's funny is when you and I first started speaking, I told you reminded me. I had listened to your prior shows before I came on your show, and to familiarize myself with your type of genre and what have you that's on your show. And you reminded me a lot of Art Bell.
Well, Art was a friend of mine.
Listener of his. And so when I said that to you, you said, well, that's funny because he was one of my best friends. I'm like, well, that explains it. He was your mentor, your friend, and what have you. And definitely I would put you in the same classification as him.
Well, you know what? He came at the right time, the right place, and nobody will ever replace Art Bell. I'll tell you that. People try, but they can't. Art could just take a guest that was mediocre, and you know what? The way he knew how to interview, it was an exciting show. I mean, he could take a guest and get him to go down the rabbit hole And then the fun part was waiting for them to try to come back out for you could get them back in that rabbit hole.
I've noticed some of the same similarities with you, though. So you have some of the same knacks that he did as far as leading the guest into the conversation. And you make everybody feel, and it's not just me. I've listened to, I'm an avid listener of your show. Your other guests, they all feel very comfortable when they're speaking with you. And it's because you make that happen. And James, you're the same way.
Thanks.
You have that likable quality that makes you feel like you're at home. You're talking to your best friend, or you're talking to the guy next door, kind of feel. So your show has really got a good, oomph to it.
Well, it must be, because I'm on radio stations, as far as a small community station to some larger stations across the country. I'm just waiting to get some in the Washington state. Well, I do have one, but it's a small one, very small. It covers a small.
I know my mom. My mom's friends with Jack Harris. He's WDAE, I think it is, here in Tampa, and I think she's working on trying to get your show, for him to listen to your show so he can possibly get it on the air here, which would be a great thing. Because I know my mom's an avid listener of that, WDAE, I think it is the radio station.
That means I'd have to quit my jokes on wacky news about Florida, right, James?
Listen, Florida alone gives us some great hour-long material, let me tell you.
Yeah, Florida, I hate to say it, has some of the best material for wacky news than any place in this whole country. I can say that.
Absolutely.
Well, I keep wanting to visit out there to your direction. As a kid, I'd always wanted to go to Oregon and Washington because of the redwoods, what have you. I've watched a lot of old westerns and stuff when I was a kid. And it just seems to me like a place I would want to visit. I'm not sure I'd want to live, but no offense, but you get too much rain for me. But I would definitely love to visit it.
Yeah, I got to ask you a question. You remember Marilyn Monroe? I can't remember one of the pictures where she was standing over a manhole and the wind blew up her dress. I hear if you go down to Florida, anywhere near the ocean, on any of the cities right there, that if you stand over a manhole, you're going to get, depending on the time of day, you're going to get covered with either seaweed or the ocean.
Yeah.
I won't say what I was about to say because it would sound dirty, but it really wasn't that way.
Well, is it true? I've gotten a lot of reports that some of the towns right next to the ocean, when the tide comes in, the actually water cut starts flooding out of the manholes.
That's probably near Fort Lauderdale area, what have you. That's near the swampier areas of town. Florida, we're massively overpopulated by over I would say 4.5 million people probably that shouldn't be here.
But don't worry about it, R.W. They say 2040 that most of Florida is going to be underwater anyway because of everything that's going on. So I guess they're going to move to Idaho.
Well, I know personally I'm in the process of relocating. I'm going to be probably in the next year relocating to North Carolina. So that's going to be my new home once I get. Well,
don't go up by the Blue Ridge Mountains because I hear there's underground, a military base there that are sharing technology with aliens, and these aliens really like us humans a lot. Well, so if you run across one of these aliens,
Bryson City is where I'm going to be moving to. I've already looked into. I'm going up in October to look at a few houses up there.
Wow.
But Bryson City is right there near the Smoky Mountains or the Blue Ridge Parkway, and and the area that you were speaking of, I think we talked about that last time we were on the show, is it's near Black Mountain, and my family, we have property up there, and we had seen the lights that go into the mountain and then dart out later, and it was really phenomenal to watch that because it wasn't like fireflies. At first, you're thinking, okay, it must be a car light from around the other side of the mountain, reflecting off something, blah, blah, blah.